Hey guys, welcome back to the Ramble. I am your host, Muriology, and this was supposed to be a short, poignant, witty, and to the point text, which I had to split into several parts. I believe insomnia brings out the best in me, at least it brings out the annoyance and the anger, and so texts do tend to get longer than originally intended. This is Internet So Dangerous, Part 1. The internet is dangerous, I've been told, particularly for women, because of course it is, as are all things. If you do not know that by now, buddy boy, you're either blind, or you're deaf, or you are stupid. There's no two ways about it. If it happens somewhere, no matter whom it happens to, women are most affected. At least it must be spun that way. Still, one should be fairly safe on the internet if one takes care and watches one's steps, as it were. However, since it is such a dangerous, such a wild and wacky place, particularly for women, I thought it would be of interest to write on the terrible dangers of the internet for all the world to marvel at and furthermore dismiss. Beyond the borders of the screen, where all sanity goes to die, women are in grave and terrible danger. Horribly assaulted by the fell misogynistic males who traverse and guard the dankest pits, the most nauseating cesspools of the internet. Most of the internet is a hive of scum and villainy, as one would well expect, populated by men as it is. As long as you do not talk about B, though, you ought to be safe. Now, me being a naive and innocent gentleman and scholar, naught but a humble thought crime salesman in fact, I have of course never traversed the dangerous tundra that is B. I am far too gentlemanly, far too delicate for such an endeavour. I cannot talk about it for not having experienced it, in fact, so I do not talk about B. Yet, as I have understood it through the scholarly articles I have read on the topic, B is where all hope and dreams goes to die. It is a graveyard for all that is good and noble and feminine and true, a mass grave for sugar and spice and everything nice. As such, it is for fools as myself who still cling to a tiny floating burrito of hope, of course, out of reach and out of bounds. There used to be a certain sense of personal freedom, of individual liberty, of anonymity on the internet, even when it is solely populated by garbage people clothed in phallic symbolism. Beyond hope, I hope that it will one day return. With gusto, with wild, furious, maddening songs and battle cries, roaring, triumphant trumpets blaring wildly in the echoing cavern where the censorship brigades lie weeping for having lost the battle. But it is not this day, nor is it the day after today or the day after tomorrow. I fear that it will be a good and long while until we are allowed to be anonymous again. Net neutrality is all but dead, just as God is dead, and we killed it, just as we killed him. All of us, with our weeping and our inaction, our apathy and our lethargy, we killed it. And so it has become legend, and so it has become myth. Legend and myth, morality tales told to children sitting lonely and sleepless in bed at night, tales to make them behave. If you don't behave, child, anonymity will find you, for anonymous is legion. And the child will tremble and hide its freckled face beneath the covers, wishing that the tale will both end and continue. The duality of people kind as only a child in its adoring innocence can portray it. Fear and love, terror and intrigue all in a pint-sized package. The child has been told all its life that Anonymous never forgives, that Anonymous can be a horrible, senseless, uncaring monster. It is the creepy sounds outside at night, like fingernails scratching at the window, wolves howling at the door, blizzards that turn to ghostly screams in the child's mind. Anonymous is still able to deliver, despite being long dead. It is a ghost, a ghoul, a zombie, a demon sent to kill and to maim and to ensnare the child's soul, to capture it for an eternity of torment in the very bowels of hell. As expected, Anonymous is particularly fond of young female victims. Male children do not run free of them, of course. They will be twisted and malformed, forced into obedience, made to succumb to the wicked weirdness of the internet, forced to merge and to become anonymous themselves. But the girls, oh the girls, their fate is better left unsaid, so as to create unfathomable horrors as warnings in the tender minds of young girls, so that they shall never dare step outside the boundaries set there by their opulent masters. so that they shall stay in their proper place and later turn and run and weep, so that the government and various tech giants shall finally slay the mythical beast that is, and shall forever be, known as Anonymous. For, in order for the censorship brigades to win and Anonymous to lose, girls and women must be irrationally afraid and angry at that which they have been told makes them afraid, all the time. Following such observations, one sits, as one does, browsing Twitter, beholding, watching and yet again observing all the twats that tweet and twatter about everything, yet managing, by some strange magic, to say absolutely nothing. It is naught but free-form forums limited to snark and salvation in equal measure, with rules of conduct so strange and convoluted as to be impenetrable, denser than the densest dope, stranger than the strangest stranger. Supposedly, the rules of conduct apply to everyone equally, and so it should be safe, even for women. Yet, as one will experience time and again, there are no real rules about posting. This is self-evident, as people are still allowed to be mean towards women online. The fact that people are mean, often meaner in fact, towards men on the internet is of no matter, little consequence and whatever. And the uncomfortable fact that most misogynistic abuse encountered by women online comes from other women, not men, matters even less. For through mental gymnastics galore and burlesque, men can still be blamed for the actions of women. If you will allow, gentlemen, as we are all men of the world here, men who have been around the block a few times so to speak, know what I mean, nudge nudge, wink wink. We all know, gentlemen, that being mean to women online usually means nothing more and nothing less than merely disagreeing with them. That is harassment. Particularly when facing down a stampeding feminist, or a stampeding horde of feministas. It is pure vile misogyny to disagree with women, particularly with feminism, and misogyny is the worstest thing there is to encounter on the internet, no matter how factual one's rebuttal to the inane ramblings of a feminist is. Non-feminist women are free game and good pickings, so have at them all you like. Yet do not touch a feminist woman with a gentle stroke of your keyboard. That is harassment, misogyny and all that other terrible stuff. And we cannot have that. For added effect, the words racism, fascism, white supremacism, rape, wife-beater, etc. in any one of their forms will also be used and spent like some drunk billionaire spending money during a wild weekend in Vegas. After a while of flawed and faulty moderation and some observations on the liberal use of the grand banhammer fantastic by whip and chain moderators, one comes to learn that there are no real rules about moderation either. Enjoy your ban. Pro tip. To avoid being banned, don't refer to people as retarded if they ain't retarded, yet spouting retarded arguments. Refer to them instead as mentally deficient if they ain't mentally deficient, yet spouting mentally deficient arguments. For those who are in the know, in the flow, in the midst of the stream, that is, the ones who count themselves as woke, are protected from moderation, as opposed to those who refuse to be ensnared by the Church of Woke. The prophets of woke must do something particularly egregious in order to be banned, in order to be moderated, as opposed to those who are not woke, who may be banned for the disastrous crime of disagreement. Tactics from the cult of woke include, but are not limited to, mass reporting, harassment, doxing, dogpiling, brigading and various and sundry. There are, in fact, accounts on Twitter made for no other reason but to take down and ban the accounts of those of a political persuasion whom they do not agree with. Some of us would perhaps consider these poor people as having no life, no purpose whatsoever. But then again, some of us are merely hateful, bigoted and various and sundry, and so can be easily ignored and dismissed. The cult of woke is a peculiar and confusing thing, and its adherents, its prophets, its followers and clingers on deserve each other more than anyone has ever deserved anyone else in the whole history of hysteria. The cult is auto-cannibalistic by its very nature, by its core design. The woke shall eat the lesser woke in turn shall eat the woke, and the lying shall lay down with the lame, and both shall play the blame game, the name and shame game, until the rapture, until the end. Blamen. Of course, one must never, under any circumstances, migrate to different sites. There must always and ever be a tech giant monopoly, a technopoly, no matter how censoriously moderated the moderators choose to moderate, no matter how much of a cancerous polyp on the anus of humanity they may be. The message delivered then is a simple one. If you enjoy any rival sites, don't. For the rival sites are filled with neo-Nazis, scumfucks, crypto-fascist, marginalizers, male supremacist, white-faced smirkers and other such terrible entities who, by their vague association with the fundamentally flawed and faithfully fascist concept of free speech, wishes for nothing but the subordination of women and other disadvantaged minority groups. The fact that women are not a minority does not factor into it. Minority does not mean what it used to mean due to the voodoo of academia. These sites must, by necessity, be taken down as best they can be taken down, banned and shadow banned and blacklisted by the tech giants and the iron glove with which they rule the internet. It does not matter what one says. It does not matter what one does. Supporting and frequenting other sites than the bulbous sites that the tech giants have conjured forth from the abyss means that you are in fact a fascist. Fascist being yet another of the vague in vogue words that no one really knows what means anymore, yet spend until it is completely spent and pointless. So in the glowing light of the Technopolis, all your carefully picked arguments can be ignored, for no one knows your own mind better than those who have decided to ignore your position and your words, your actions and your deeds in order to push and present their smear job caricature of you. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Anything you say can be turned into something else. Your opinion, as well as the fact of the matter, matters little. The hive mind hath spoken. The hive mind is always right. So it is. And the hive mind and its tactics change according to the whims and will and fancy of Miss Queen Bee Supreme. Miss Queen Bee Supreme, of course, being the current societal, cultural or academic feminist or social justice warrior zeitgeist. Lately, over on the men's rights subreddit, which I frequent often though in the guise of a ghost, always reading, never writing, concern trolling has become the latest trend and tactic of the hive mind scorned by concern for men. Alongside the obscene assault of concern trolling, one may often encounter 7,000 varieties of the not real feminism fallacy, which is to be expected. Most subscribers to the ideology of feminism know precious little about feminism, it appears. Those who oppose it know quite a lot about it. Know thy enemy, as the saying goes. Scratch the surface and the point, the rust and muck of the exercise, that is, the concern trolling, the attempted tone policing, becomes as clear as the empty gaze of a vacuous garden variety feminist. For the point of the exercise is, of course, furthering the feminist agenda and the eternal feminist talking points, one feigned concern, one falsely presented empathetic gaze at the plight of men at a time. One can easily spot it by seeing them use the term toxic masculinity over and over again. And these people ought to be ignored. Just as we do not negotiate with terrorists, we do not argue with trolls. It means that they win. They are there to spread pestilence, famine, war and death, no matter the mask they wear at the moment. So the best tactic is to ignore them. Let them scream, splutter and blubber into the void of their own dismal sense of equality. In doing so, they will potentially learn that the harder they try, the harder they will fail. Of course, this is somewhat doubtful. These people never learn from their mistakes. Instead, they double down, convincing themselves that if they fail in epic proportion, it may just become a winning failure. I blocked the bastard, see? That means I won. Followed by a long and drawn out REE! A lengthy herp, and some epic derp. Even if they do believe themselves to be winners, there is comfort in the knowledge that every win fails eventually. Every imagined win is destined to fail. And the mighty do fall, and the tremulous do tremble for every fall. Yet the trembling forces tremble on, marching towards the gates and winning inch by bloody inch. Hate speech and hate laws and crimes of a hateful nature. As long as that which is hated is what they do not wish to be hated. What they themselves may hate is quite all right, for their hate is not hate, it is instead opposition to oppression, and the oppressed have every right to hate their oppressors. In the heat of the moment, the troglodytes, goblins, orcs, ogres and nincompoops forget that everything that can be labelled can be hated, that one cannot condition hatred, stupid as hatred very well may be, out of people. One cannot force someone to like something, to love something, to approve of something. That is quite contrary to liberty. Like it or not, to live in a free society is to allow for people to hate what they hate, to love what they love, even if one disagrees. Not allowing for this is to not live in a free society. Particularly egregious is this when both allowing and celebrating certain types of hate against certain groups. When mere criticism of one group gets labelled hate, whilst actual calls for genocide and violence and genocidal violence to another group is not, when this is based solely on arbitrary characteristics. One does not live in a society that is free and open and easy-going. One is living in a prison where freedom is, in fact, slavery. And hatred may very well be stupid, futile and way too simplistic. Yet it will never go away. When implementing laws that determine what is and is not okay to hate, all one does is push certain groups even further underground. Hate breeds hate, and hating certain groups is still nothing but hate, no matter one's justification, no matter whether allowed socially or accepted through laws. The more you hate it, the stronger it gets. Underground and unseen by feeble-minded nimrods who believe that nothing is to be taken seriously except that which they consider serious, which, for all intents and purposes, is anything but serious. By which I mean that it is anything but rational. Even the most robust feminist argument is based on feels before reals, you dig? Particularly so in the latter days of our societies. With this used as truth, a woman who feels unsafe is unsafe, no matter the truth of the matter. And if a woman feels unsafe, she must be protected, particularly on the internet, where there are so many dangers lurking right beneath the surface. Apparently, this tale as old as time, this fainting couch woman, is originality made manifest, seen clearly in feminist disciples parroting feminist dogma from feminist internet users using old tattletale dialectics like used car salespeople kinds, presenting it as original content. All new rims, good steering, fantastic taillights, good deal, brakes usually work, buy it now. Even when it is an old and decrepit rust bucket. Original content is original only for a few seconds before getting old, and feminism is old, ancient, dead and decaying. It is an old and decrepit rust bucket. Still it clings to its glory. Burrowed in the pale and flabby skin of society like a tick, spreading disease, chronic pain and a solid case of good old ickiness. Now, it is not merely feminists who believe this. All the white knights with their bulging maws and alpha posturing will jump out of the woodwork to defend milady and her honour, no matter if she is clearly in the wrong or not. For if there is one thing one can believe in, with utmost sincerity, it is the weakness and frailty and powerlessness of the strong, powerful and empowered woman. Manufactured as it is by the frail and frantic forces of feminism and enabled by a society that swoops in to save and to shelter and protect and provide for women, no matter who suffered something more or who suffered something less. Social justice is a farcical farce, ladies and gentlemen, and feminism is at the forefront of it all. Because why shouldn't it be? If there is any talk about victimization, feminism has got to swoop in to make sure and to make certain that women are up front and centre, as original and predictable as a good old-fashioned copy pasta. As we all well know, being gentlemen and scholars all, the woes and worries of any given feminist is nothing but feminist copy pasta, and copy pasta is made to ruin every last bit of originality. Author's note. I know, I was supposed to write less about feminism and more about other things. But inspiration struck some hours ago, and now I am rambling my way through something that was supposed to be short, quick, easy, to the point and somewhat humorous. It turned out to become tender finger gymnastics for my insomniac hopscotch mind. Oh well, finger my diddle and pound my nostrils, it is at the very least extraordinarily fun to write. Even when the short piece had been split into multiple pieces on account of my rambling mind going every which way except towards the direction I pointed it at. Such is the way of things. I'll catch you next time. Thank you very much for watching. Here follows an outro most befitting a video of this nature, a blatant attempt at virtual panhandling. Should you wish to support this channel, as well as my blog and any further endeavours this strange path will take me on, there are a few ways you can do that. The easiest would be to like, share and subscribe, as well as clicking the sometimes functional notification bell. Having the message, such as it is, manspread and mansplained far and wide will do wonders. You could also support my rambling and barely contained insanity by buying my books, which are linked below. More books will be made available as time allows. I also have a Redbubble shop, linked below, where you can buy prints in various forms of some of the artwork presented in my videos. Or you can contact me through the contact form on my blog for original artwork, commissions or prints direct from the source, so to speak. Until next time, I am your humble bearded bard, Montreal man spreading majestically beneath the steel sky of doom.